Thank you. This is a really beautiful bookstore. I've never been here before, but what a spectacular spot to have a reading on a sort of grayish, almost spring evening. A really big thanks. Deanna has been incredible. She's one of these extraordinarily organized women who send you emails with all kinds of specifics in them and invites you out for dinner. And thank you very much for all the work that you do for the True Reading Series, which is such a spectacular reading series. I mean, it's just been going on for ever in Canada. I think it's one of Canada's longest standing literary reading events. So what a total honor when I got the invite, and a huge thank you actually to Caitlin Press for those of you who, you're welcome to come in. I just gave up my seat here so you can take it if you wanted to sit down. For those of you who may not be familiar with Caitlin Press, it's a small independent women's focused press out of British Columbia, and I have to say they're just doing incredible things. Vicki Johnston, who is the managing editor and the main publisher, she's brought Caitlin from some levels of obscurity to, they were just voted the best press in Western Canada to publish with. So really spectacular, and they've been wonderful. They've just been amazing setting me up with all of these readings across Canada, so a total pleasure. I also want to say Happy International Women's Day 2016, everybody. I was emailing with some colleagues of mine, and we were saying that we're going to get up to no good today. I haven't exactly started, but you just wait for it. So I'm going to read for about 15-20 minutes, and then I'm looking forward to hearing everybody on the open mic. But because it's International Women's Day, I thought I would, hopefully to your approval, read you some new work from a project entitled Lot. And because it's International Women's Day, and because I feel quite passionate about the fact that we live in Canada right now in a climate of truth and reconciliation, a time of a national inquiry on murdered and missing Aboriginal women, I thought I would let you know that Lot is a shortened term for Charlotte, which is the name of the islands that I grew up on prior to them being renamed Haida Gwaii. And if you take nothing else away from this reading tonight, an interesting factoid, given that we live in complicated and violent, racist, colonial times, is that Queen Charlotte was possibly Britain's only black monarch. And we don't know that. Often, many people don't know that. We just sort of assume that the repatriation of the name Haida Gwaii was an incredible indigenous-focused sort of anti-colonial maneuver, which it certainly was, but I think it's important, particularly in a time, as I said, rife with both anti-indigenous racism and racism against non-white settler colonial people, to recognize that the original name of Haida Gwaii, the first colonial name of Haida Gwaii, referenced what was possibly the only black monarch. Just an interesting thing to think about on International Women's Day 2016. So I'll open with about 4 or 5 poems from this new project entitled Lot, and then I'll move to a reading from Skeena, which is my latest book of poetry. For those of you that don't know, Skeena is the second largest river in British Columbia, contained entirely in British Columbia. It's really at the center of a large conversation about resource extraction, pipelines, and logging, oil and gas, fracking. It's the largest sockeye-bearing river in British Columbia, in Western Canada. And I grew up very close to the banks of the Skeena River. My dad passed away about 1.5 years ago, and my dad's ashes are now with the Skeena. So after I open with some new poems from Lot, I'll read from Skeena, and know that I'm in part reading to my dad as much as I am reading to the Skeena River. So from Lot. We're on water. We land. I step off there, here. July 1980. Another ship. Always we're arriving by ship. As in Lot. As in to cast, as in to draw, as in an act of divination, as in a curse or spell, as in a game of chance. as in a portion, a share, as in a person's destiny, as in rare, as in royalty paid to a mine owner, or as in forming part of a larger whole, as in person regarded as having a special quality, bad lot, as in plot of land, as in front of a house, as in a small enclosure, as in site of film studio, as in a number account, as in very much with modifier A, as in allocate, appoint, as in Charlotte, diminutive of Charles, shortened Lottie, oh, Lot. Stone woman. And the woman was half stone, and the woman had a face marked with stone, and the woman was a woman made partly of stone, and the woman rose from salt and felt stone, and the woman faced stone and breathed stone, and the woman was a stone woman, and the woman made of stone of which she was made, and the woman had a face made partly of stone, and the woman had a jaw of stone, and the woman had one eye of stone, and the woman held stone in an arm made partly of stone, and the woman looked, and her look was stone, and the woman cradled a baby who was a girl who would become stone too, and the woman wept, and she wept tears of stone, and the woman was a stone woman, and the woman dove under water and met stone, and the woman felt stone too, and the woman and stone, and the woman and stone, and the woman and stone, and the woman stone, and the woman stone, and the woman in stone, and the woman and stone, and the woman was stone, and stone, and the woman was stone woman. Instructions for what you may not kill. You may not kill the cedar bark, you may not kill a salmon's skin, you may not kill a fawn, you may not kill the things that burn, you may not kill an eel, an otter, or a seal. You may not kill your foe, you must never kill your love. You may never kill a berry on a plant, you must never kill a razor clam. You must not kill a whale, a snowy mountaintop, a balancing bit of drop, or even two stray blades of grass on a forest floor. You must not kill the spot where alders grow. You must not kill the salt, the water, the tide, or any bits of shore. You must not kill a cod, a dogfish egg, a baby bird, or worst of all, her nest. You must not kill a cod. You must not kill in anger. You may not kill in greed. You must not kill in spite. You must not kill a sapling yew. You must not kill a shrew. You may not kill a mouse, a mushroom, or the fog. You must never kill a man, his sister, or his song. Before and after monster. At first, the monster was a monster. The monster had always been a monster, even came up from the dark and the light of being a monster before there was a monster. Still, the monster was also clam, because before the monster there was only monster, but the monster was also halibut, was also the hook used to catch the halibut, so the monster was halibut and halibut hook. And halibut hook was made of yew, which grew next to cedar. So the monster was yew and cedar shaped into hook, which was also shaped like the sun's edge. The sun is a hook, the hook catches halibut, which is monster. Sun, monster at the edge of sun, that is a monster, which is a hook. Sun and fish monster, hook monster, monster that is sometimes abalone. The sun is abalone too. So sun and abalone and halibut and hook and clam and monster and all that is also monster, they all sit together upon a sharp edge, and then they sink down, but then they also rise again to monster. I should tell you that a lot of those lines are both referencing things that happened to me when I grew up, and stories of growing up on Haida Gwaii and on the Charlottes, and in reference to Lot, this kind of complicated colonial landscape. But I was recently in Vancouver and started working with records from the Jessup expedition. So anthropological records of people recording and retelling, somewhat problematically, stories of Haida Gwaii and stories of the Haida people. So some of those lines, particularly the halibut being a hook, are stories that circulate on Haida Gwaii. So I think I've got about 15 minutes left, and with that 15 minutes, I will read from Skeena. And there's no pressure here, but there's a whack of Skeena there, which I prefer to not pack back with me from BC. So, if you ask nicely, I might just give it away. But they are for sale, if you want to talk to me about that afterward. And the dust jacket is hand-printed, so it's actually worth way more than the book of poetry, so you're making an investment in your retirement by buying the book. You just take the dust jacket cover off and frame it and ditch the book of poetry. Skeena crossing. What is this? This crossing. In the photo, just in front of the train, with the crane at the edge of the drop, off from track into river, stands a young man. Truss, truss, truss from left, truss, truss, truss from right, a bridge built middleward, inward. Bridge, 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 water, bridge, 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 tracks on opposite shores of a river in the center of the Skeena, where currents are strongest. I'm the river. I have touched bends of sandbars set to disappear, tips of drifted down pine needles, the husk of a hair from a rutting bull moose, carcasses of deer, red, 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 long summer days, huckleberry full, and still you do not believe I am small. You refuse to believe, insist I can take anything, forgetting that single solitary second of split water, of splitting me. You, young man, are still finishing the job. We're passing canneries of the past. North Pacific Canning Company, Anglo-British Columbia Packing Company, women packed side by side by side, slicing salmon, slick in blood, boots sloshing in sleet, rain, and salmon guts, freezing hands shoving flanks of salted sockeye into tins, seals barking, begging for the sluice dripping from Port Edward's slippery boardwalks. 100 years later, Port Ed, all rotting wharves, piers piercing me, pylons, barnacles, blue, black mussels, ghost nets, and rusting machines. We're at the Pacific, taste of salt, brine flung open, burn of chuck, tidal line, stained rocks, wave eaten. Riparian. I owe you above all else. Gravel roads, horse paddocks, running muck, chickens loose, women clucking, limp-armed log cabins yarded from dryness, hand-packed, chinking, broken-down doors, drowned, flowered cotton dresses. Moose. Early spring overflow low down with salt near Pacific. I am Devil's Club, just opening memories of aspen leaves, alder leaf rot from last fall, beaver fat brown and full throttle. I'm going strong, all slick in the bank. I hug stumps, hurl them sideways. Huge, I love my great big spring self. When you tumble into me, I suck back gas sploosh thluck like a birth spat wet into the world you kick. Bray, moose, screeching, head, back, eyes rolled, slick snot from fear muzzle down to dewlap drenched, ribs heaving, going strong, I'm going strong, and not even you, strong enough to climb out of me your shitting streams, not pellets. This is death up close, a clack, 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 clucking, calling, your calf running downstream, your snapped leg 1, your snapped leg 2, 3, all 4, bash, 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 bashed against a root, how hale your bones, how fragile in my water, your still wintry dew downy underneath, your willow-tipped breath gone, I'm in your lungs, and I am going strong. I used to end there, but it was such a bummer that I thought I would try to pick it up a little. This is written from the river. So Skeena is written principally from a first-person perspective, the perspective of the river. So this is written to a young woman named Allie. In 2009, Allie was 33 years old. She's a sommelier and a chef who lives in Smithers in northern British Columbia. And she's a professional athlete and a swimmer, and she swum the entire length of the Skeena River to draw attention to the impacts of resource extraction and the devastation on particularly sockeye salmon stocks in northern British Columbia by things like fracking and clear-cut logging. So this is to Allie. Allie. Stroke, current, current, stroke, stroke, current, current, stroke. Muscle, thin film of flesh, you, stroke, current, me, stroke, current, current, stroke. Ripple run my river rapids parted, a black stone, arresting, turning sideways, then face downward, front crawl, stroke, muscle, stroke, current, stroke, muscle, stroke, current. You're a dollop, a moving droplet, the texture of fresh water mollusks stripped of shell, jelly, soft, silvery, slippery jelly, sand in your folds, hair fanning through me, your skin membrane, a watery system, veins like tributaries, thin splinters and blue sparks I brush up against, the estuary of your heart draining into salty rush aortas, oxygen uptake breathing from the side of your mouth, red blood cells like salmon roe, riparian ribs. Swim me, swim me, swim me, your body seal slick, you take me in your mouth. Exhale, stroke, inhale above my surface, turn, stroke, muscle, turn, stroke, muscle, stroke, current, current, stroke, water, stroke. From letters written to Allie by school-aged children to whom she spoke about swimming the river. Dear Allie, dear Allie, dear Allie, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are so brave. You're such a great swimmer. Thank you. Thank you for helping our fish. I love to eat boiled salmon. You must be so happy because you got to see so many fish. I love fishing and eating, and your last name is the same as mine. Thank you. You are so brave to have swum the Skeena. Thank you, dear Allie. Thank you. I'll just end there. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Did she swim upstream or downstream?
She swam downstream. That's a great question. Yeah, she swam down. She swam from what's known in British Columbia as the Sacred Headwaters, the Stikine, the Skeena, the Spatsizi, and the Tsilkatine. And the Skeena comes off the Spatsizi and the Stikine. Yeah, and the Sacred Headwaters, very contentious site. Shell tried to move in for oil and gas exploration, and it's been an ongoing conversation in British Columbia. And it would be a heavily disrupted area if the Enbridge pipeline had gone through with as much unchecked conversation as it was meant to go through under our former Harper regime. So yeah, but she swam downstream. That's a great question. Yeah, it's a huge river. Yeah. Has anybody seen the Skeena? Anybody been to the Skeena? It's a phenomenal river. So, any other just random? Yeah.
How long was the swim?
I think it took her almost 2 months in total. So she swam and she came out. She came and onto dry land at points, and she did talks along the way. So it was a summer endeavor. Yeah, yeah.
And the length of the river that she swam?
Oh, gee, that's a great question. I could tell you that the drainage of the Skeena, because it's a footnote in here, but I'll find it. There's a footnote to the exact length, but it's thousands of kilometers. Yeah, so it's a very, very long river. Any other questions? I just always like poets to answer questions as opposed to read and then leave, quick exit to the left. So.
Comments, the poor moose.
I know, I did end a number of my early readings of Skeena on moose, and people were very affected in ways that I hadn't necessarily intended for them to be affected. I mean, I think it's very important, particularly when we think about sort of the voice of the non-human world and we think about ecological concerns, that we don't sort of sugarcoat in a sort of romanticized manner the power of the non-human world. I think it's important to know, very close. I know people who've died in the Skeena. The Skeena holds my dad's ashes. My locker mate in grade 10 in Terrace died in a tributary of the Skeena River. And I've seen moose and deer be taken by the Skeena. I've seen eagles be taken by the Skeena. So it's an incredibly powerful thing, which I don't think in any way, shape, or form diminishes the import that we ought to vest in it ecologically, but it isn't all necessarily soft and fluffy and nice.
That's
so
nature.
Yeah, that's nature.
What makes the swim that much more impressive?
Yeah, that's true. She did do it in the summer months in a wetsuit, so she but it was an incredible swim, and it's really worth it. Allie Howard, just Google her name, and there was so much interaction with school kids. This book is really sort of what I term a polyvocal long poem. So it's 96 pages, and it uses a lot of historical texts and a lot of highway signs and a lot of information from First Nations band newsletters, and in addition to kind of weaving in the voice of the Skeena River. But I was completely taken with Allie, and she led me through a particularly pleasant wine tasting engagement in some days years ago. So, yeah. All right. I think we can open the mic up, Deanna.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate it.